I'm so excited to share with you guys what Homebot actually is. This is something that I've been trying to implement forever, and I finally did. I think it's awesome. So here's just a quick tutorial on what Homebot is and what it's capable of. It's way beyond what Zillow will give you for values. It's more interactive so that if you really need information today, we can do it together. You can request something from a real person, which would be me, and I'll get you guys, an up-to-date current value of your home. We can talk about refinances. Super awesome. So, right out of the gate, it just shows you what your estimated value is. This will be pretty similar to Zillow, and if I stopped right there, this wouldn't be worth your time. But it is kind of nice to know, and it's an email that comes to you instead of something you have to go and go into another site and try to find. It even shows you the growth, which is even cooler. But what I think is really awesome is that you can input your loan information, and sometimes it's even able to find it just based on your address, and it'll tell you based on what you bought it for, approximately how much your net equity is, which is so cool. Like just knowing that alone makes it way cooler than any of the other tools out there. It takes you down a little bit further. It tells you how much you've paid towards principal, how much you paid towards interest in the time that you've had your home, especially if it has your financial information. It'll tell you your interest rate, and this is a refinance for this property, so not much has been paid towards either, but you can always see that interest is going to take the lion's share compared to principal, at least for the first 15 years of a 30-year mortgage, or basically for the first half of any loan that you might be getting. And you can fine-tune these things. You say this is right. You can change these numbers if you did a refinance that it's just not aware of. Interest adds up. This is a really cool tool that a lot of people ask me, like, hey, John, do you know what this, how much money I might save over the course of 30 years if I make an extra $100 or whatever? And this is where you have some tools that you can actually do that. And this one here particularly is talking about refinancing to shorter terms. So real quick, not a huge fan of financing for shorter terms. Yes, you do save a ton in interest, but why not just make extra payments towards principal on a 30-year note? In the event that something happens and goes wrong in your life, which seems to be the case, just being alive, you are not going to be hamstrung to that higher payment. So for example, a 30-year mortgage for a house, your payment might be $2,000 or $3,000. Let's just say $2,000 for example. If you decided to make that a 15-year, it's probably closer to like $2,600. You can make the extra $600 a payment a month, and it'll go straight towards principal. And you can in fact pay that home off in 15 years if you want with a 30-year mortgage. So just keep that in mind. But this gives you different options. So 15-year, 5-to-1 ARM, 7-to-1 ARM. I wouldn't do anything that's adjustable at this point. Interest rates are at historical lows. They're only going to go up from here. There's really nowhere else for them to go. In fact, the Fed, who prints money and manages money and loans it to the government and big banks and things like that, have already said that they're going to increase interest rates. So I do expect interest rates to be back in the 4s sometime this year, if not by the end of the year, just based on what the Fed has said and hinted at. So we keep coming down. Here's that tool. If you pay just $150 more, you're going to save $23,000 in just interest payments. Because if you're making a principal payment, they can't charge you interest on it because you've already paid it. So they're planning on you never making extra payments, and then that's why your payment would be due, for 30 years and so on and so forth. So you end up finishing paying off your houses a lot faster. If you've already paid extra, you can put that in there. If you paid $150 extra a month, you'd actually finish paying off your house 6 years earlier, and you can change this to any amount you want. I think that is probably the coolest feature on this whole thing. If you bought another home, how much could you afford? People's life situations change. This is saying that it's taking your equity based on what you were approved for this home, so it's not taking the full picture, but it definitely is a starting point. So if nothing's changed and your income's the same as when you bought this home, and you want to keep your payment about the same, and you use the cash you make from this home, what's the next property you can buy? And there's a bunch of different scenarios that it can go over and give you more details on. I think that's pretty cool too. You can always ask me, John, hey, we're thinking about this, and what's going to work? What's the better option? I love that it shows you how much money you have, and then it gives you all these fun ideas for financial security. So creating an emergency fund, doing home improvements, adding more livable space. I don't agree with paying down student debt with home equity, but it's on there. Essentially, it's saying that you could pull out money and use it towards these other things. Add solar panels. That might not be a bad idea. I also don't agree with paying off credit card debt, but these are just things that it's saying, hey, you could access your equity to do these things, and some of them are going to make you more money, others are just going to be a complete loss. Okay, this one I like because this is actually a tool that I pay extra for investments, and it's essentially giving it to you for free. It's saying, hey, if you rented out your home on Airbnb, what would that look like? It even does its monthly revenue, nightly debt. It just gives you the basics, but it's really cool information to tell you what you might expect. So for this house, it's almost a little bit more than what a monthly long-term lease would be. So not really worth it, but you may have a different situation. You may have other homes in other places that you want to add to Homebot, where you can see this information for free instead of paying $40 a month. So I thought that was really helpful. I really like it for me because it's always kind of nice to see what other options you have aside from just long-term rentals. Let's see. And then, of course, if you know somebody who could benefit from this, ask me directly, or you can share Homebot and they'll be tied in and they'll get all the information they need. So that's my quick tutorial on Homebot. Hope you guys are having a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you so much.